It seems like Kanye West is working on a new album, and this is coming to us after we have some artists that have spoken about working in Japan. Also, we've had some new rumblings about producers that have been working close with Kanye and some new collaborators. So guys, in this episode, we're going to be breaking down everything we know about this new Kanye West album so far. And if you guys want to stay up to date with this new Kanye West rollout, smash the subscribe button because we're going to be doing more videos like this for this Kanye album. But listen, man, we covered the Donda rollout. It was a massive moment for the community back in 2021, and people have been hungry for Kanye content ever since. And now we do have new reports that there is a new Kanye West album in the works.
Yes, we
from
do.
Not only one source, but multiple sources. So Lou, let's go through this.
It's super exciting. So Ruga, who was of course featured on OK off of Donda, was recently on the No Jumper podcast, and he said that Ye is working on the album and that he's helping him out to work on the album. He also said that he's going to be leaving for Tokyo very soon, which is where Kanye's been for the last couple of weeks. And we know this because there's been a bunch of pictures surfacing of Kanye having different meetings with different people in Tokyo. So he's been there, he's been working. And what we also know is that Casey on Threads, who of course was featured on Donda on songs like Keep My Spirit Alive, he said that he's going to be going to Japan very soon when someone asked him on Threads. Apart from that, Ty Dolla $ign has also been in Japan, and we know this because once again on Threads, he had posted a picture of Digital Nas and another person, and the caption read, Tokyo Boys. And then he also put out another post where he wrote, been up since 8 a.m. at the stew in Japan. And if you can sort of, put those pieces of the puzzle together, it's looking like a new Kanye West album is upon us. Apart from that, on the Bootleg Kev podcast, Hit Boy was being interviewed, and he had said that Ye is making music again and that he's collaborating with Freddie Gibbs. So, to me, there's no timeline for this, obviously. We don't know if we're getting this in 2025, 2030. Who the fuck knows with Kanye? Because in the past, he has taken years to work on albums, but how do you feel about this? Do you think this is pretty much as concrete as confirmation as we can get?
Well, you have some of his most I would say
close collaborators in recent time.
In recent time that you could possibly get confirming that they are working with Kanye out in Tokyo and in Japan. And what's interesting is that once Ruga was asked by Adam22, could you give us more information? He's like, no. That's all I could say about it.
It's all hush-hush.
It's all hush-hush. I mean, it's very close to home, but we had done a video back in 2021 with the same sort of context because for the Donda studio sessions, you had the whole God's Country sort of rumor that was spilling around. And then once we saw the new masks and once we saw this new sort of, I would say, exposure coming out, we were under the impression that a new album was coming. So with all this new information, right? So you have the Freddie Gibbs and Kanye West stuff that went absolutely crazy in the community a couple of weeks ago. Now you have the breaking news from Ruga. Now you have the word from Casey. You have Ty Dolla $ign that's hinting towards it. You have Hit Boy that's talking about it. And Kanye himself has confirmed that he's been working on new music ever since the Donda sessions, especially with the whole Donda 2 situation that happened in 2022.
What a nightmare that was.
That was a major nightmare. And thank God, we had put out a video saying that we didn't like it. People oh, it's crazy. It's this and that. We didn't even get the full album experience. So do you think that we actually see an album from Kanye West in recent time?
I don't know if we're going to get one in 2023, but I definitely think 2024 is a possibility. And another sort of source that we had saying this would be happening came to us in early 2023. A lot of people forgot about this, but a source from US Weekly, or Us Weekly, I'm not sure what the magazine's called, said that a source close to Kim Kardashian said Kanye's been working on a new album and that it's been helping him stay on the straight and narrow path. And that was January of 2023. So that was sort of the first hint that we got. Now, after all these collaborators speaking, it all sort of makes sense. And to me, it reminds me of a situation like a My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. And I'm not saying this album is going to be that level and it's going to be a part 2 to that album, but more in the sense that both of these times, Kanye right now and Kanye back in 2010, those eras in his life were marked by the biggest controversies of his career. And if we look back at what happened with My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, what happens? He goes into self-exile and goes into Hawaii to cook an album. Now, again, he's staying out of the limelight. He's going in self-exile and he's making an album in Japan. So to me, all of these pieces are indicating towards a new Kanye album. But my question to you is, what do you think is going to come out of this? Because after seeing Donda 2, where we had awful, unfinished verses from Kanye West, even looking at his most recent work, because it was just featured on the Fabio Foreign song Concussion, I think maybe about a month ago, where again, you had what sounded like an unfinished Kanye verse with a lot of awkward pauses in between words and not really getting a quality verse. Do you think this album could be great?
Yeah. Why would you ever count this man out as far as making great music goes?
But as of late, the track record hasn't been sounding great.
No, but his last album was still a great album. It was a great listen. We just we have an episode that's coming out very soon where we went through Donda and ended up going through our keeps. And I do have a lot of keeps off of the album. I think there are memorable tracks. But as far as recent teases of new Kanye West music, if you go back to December 8th of 2022, there was a new snippet for Sensory Overload, that was previewed on IG, and it was cool because it sounded like classic Kanye. It felt like he was going back to that
soul sample,
sort of like deep introspective sort of Kanye, which again, you guys might not be in or into, but it's very interesting too because Donda was a smash hit for people. The whole community was super engaged, and what's interesting is that I've been going through a lot of different Reddit forums and just seeing the reception around this new Kanye album and what the chitter chatter is about it.
Yeah.
And people are dying, bro. People are starving for some new Kanye. So what do you think that happens? You know, like, why do you think people are still as hungry as ever? I mean, this guy could drop tomorrow morning and the whole fucking world is going to be listening. So what do you think plays into that?
I think what plays into it is that like hip hop has been dead in recent time, where we're sort of waiting for those groundbreaking albums, something to really push the needle forward. And Kanye's always been that guy to do it. Even with Donda, that was pretty revolutionary to have a gospel rap album where you're getting rappers that usually don't go into that lane and that space rapping about that kind of stuff. But again, to me, the concern is just Kanye's material as of late hasn't been the greatest. So I'm a bit skeptical about getting this album, because even talking about what you brought up, Sensory Overload, you had that beautiful Donny Hathaway sample for the song We'll All Be Free, sounded amazing. But besides the crazy fucking sample chop up and flip, which was nuts, Kanye's writing on there was subpar once again. So I do think that Kanye is the master of quality, but I just don't know if we should be getting this if it's going to be unfinished, if it's going to be in the same vein as a Donda 2.
Well, I'm going to interrupt you there. I think that it is going to be finished and it's going to be able to stand up to par because he didn't release Donda 2 officially on DSPs. I think he knew the reception around it really wasn't great and people felt like they got gypped with the stem player and investing into Donda 2 and the whole sequel thing. It just maybe he was really hyped about getting like everything back after the Donda rollout and him being able to get back into a good space of cooking, especially after releasing Jesus is King, where you had gotten some subpar reviews and the community really wasn't feeling it. But it depends what Kanye West wants to do at this point. Like you said, he did the gospel album with Donda and he went to a completely different direction with his career throughout that project and had more of an accessibility factor with the gospel material rather than Jesus is King, which was maybe not as accessible for people and people didn't enjoy the album experience as much. But with this, I mean, if he's going back to classic rapping, the soul samples, like the Believe What I Say's, the Believe What I Say's off of Donda, or Life of the Parties, that's what people want to hear from Kanye West, and I think that's what people have been wanting to hear for years now at this point.
And we did get that with the leak that had surfaced maybe 6 months ago, which was called 530 The Car's Missing, which was maybe supposed to be on Donda 2. That was a great example of that old soulful Kanye vibe, reminiscent of College Dropout days, where you're like, this is exactly what we want. This is introspective Kanye. It's great writing. It's great music. So there is hope for this album. I just hope that he does have a finished product by the time he fucking gives it to us. So we'll have to see what ends up happening with that. But in terms of a timeline, though, what are you thinking for this?
Oh, it's so hard, bro. Don't even call it at this point. Well, actually, you know what? Because we were in a similar situation where we made a similar video to the one that we had done with Donda, I believe, back at the beginning of like June of 2021. And then you get an entire rollout that comes a couple of weeks after. So who knows, man? It's interesting because people are starting to talk about it now. You just don't have your close sources, according to US Weekly, talking about this at the moment. Like you have Ty Dolla $ign, you have Ruga, you have Casey.
They're cooking.
Kanye's very intentional with the way that he publicizes his music and his curation process. So why would you come out and have people come say that, hey, this is an actual thing, if it's not a real thing? Not only that, but you have Hit Boy coming out of the gates and saying, listen, he's back in the studio, he's working, and he's with Freddie Gibbs. That would be a monstrous collaboration. That would be a hip hop fan's dream. So all of this hype and anticipation, but then again, it's Kanye West. We didn't know Donda was dropping until like the Sunday morning at 7:30 a.m. I had to wake you up to to tell you that Donda was out and get into the studio and to be able to do an album review for it. So, I mean, it's very interesting, guys, but let me know, Glue, like, how do you feel about this whole situation? Do you think it's the right time for Kanye to be getting back into like album mode? And as a Kanye fan yourself, what do you want to see the most from him musically on this?
Absolutely. I think it is the right time. I mean, all the controversy aside, we always go to him for the art, and I think you have to put the music aside from the art. And musically speaking, I want quality music. If it's him innovating, if it's him going back to the old sample and soul vibes, I'll take whatever I can get. But guys, let me know down in the comments, are you excited for a new Kanye West album? And when do you think it could actually be coming out? And as Anne said earlier, if you guys do want to be up to date with everything Kanye West related for this new album, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time.